The story of today is Harvesting Hope in the Unit 5. Okay, let's go right now to the book, the page. Just a minute. Okay, I wanted to open the book on the page 220.
1 minute, miss. Let me just look at the book.
We have the story of Harvesting Hope, the story of Caesar Chavez, okay, and by Kathleen Krull, illustrated by Yui Morales. And the kind of the story is a biography. We know that the biography is what is when you write a story about another person.
Yeah, real person, but
yes,
you don't write it. Somebody writes about him.
exactly. So the writer here, the name of the writer is Kathleen. Okay, Kathleen, she wrote a story about Caesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez is a very famous person in the Mexican and the Spanish culture. Let's see the story of this person. So biography is a person who writes a story about another person, like Kathleen wrote a story about Caesar. Okay, let's go and focus about the story. And the question that we have to focus about is how can we combine our resources to make a change? We know that the unit 5 is about resources. Now, I want you to imagine that if you have limited resources, like for example, even think about our lives right now during the time of the COVID-19. We have limited resources in somehow. In which way? In the way that we can't go outside, we can't meet people like before, we can't go anywhere like we wanted like before, we can't travel like before. So we are using the resources that we have. What are the resources we have? We have internet connection, we have laptops. So at least we can use those resources to make our studying and to make our learning process easier for us. So we use the resources of technology to facilitate our life and so we can complete the journey of learning. This person right here, Cesar Chavez, has different resources at that time. Let's see what happened to that person and what kind of resources he used and he took advantage of. Flip the page and let's go to read little by little.
Until Cesar Chavez was 10, every summer night was like a fiesta. Relatives swarmed onto the ranch for barbecues with watermelon, lemonade, and fresh corn. Cesar and his brothers, sisters, and cousins settled down to sleep outside under netting to keep mosquitoes out. But who could sleep? With uncles and aunts singing, spinning ghost stories, and telling magical tales of life back in Mexico. Cesar thought the whole world belonged to his family. The 80 acres of their ranch were an island in the shimmering Arizona desert, and the starry skies were all their own. Many years earlier, Cesar's grandfather had built their spacious adobe house to last forever, with walls 18 inches thick. A vegetable garden, cows, and chickens supplied all the food they could want. With hundreds of cousins on farms nearby, there was always someone to play with. Cesar's best friend was his brother, Richard. They never spent a day apart. Cesar was so happy at home that he was a little afraid when school started. On his first day, he grabbed the seat next to his older sister, Rita. The teacher moved him to another seat.
Miss, I can't hear anything because you mute yourself.
Yeah, summer Cesar was 10. The trees around the ranch began to wilt. The sun baked the farm soil rock hard. A drought was choking the life out of Arizona. Without water for the crops, the Chavez family couldn't make money to pay its bills. There came a day when Cesar's mother couldn't stop crying. In a daze, Cesar watched his father strap their possessions onto the roof of their old car. After a long struggle, the family no longer owned the ranch. They had no choice but to join the hundreds of thousands of people fleeing to the green valleys of California to look for work. Cesar's old life had vanished. Now he and his family were migrants, working on other people's farms, crisscrossing California, picking whatever fruits and vegetables were in season. When the Chavez family arrived at the first of their new homes in California, they found a battered old shed. Its doors were missing and garbage covered the dirt floor. Cold, damp air seeped into their bedding and clothes. They shared water and outdoor toilets with a dozen other families, and overcrowding made everything filthy. The neighbors were constantly fighting, and the noise upset Cesar. He had no place to play games with Richard. Meals were sometimes made of dandelion greens gathered along the road. Cesar swallowed his bitter homesickness and worked alongside his family. He was small and not very strong, but still a fierce worker. Nearly every crop caused torment. Yanking out beets broke the skin between his thumb and index finger. Grapevines sprayed with bug-killing chemicals made his eyes sting and his lungs wheeze. Lettuce.
Okay. We'll take the first part right now of the story of Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez is a person who lived with his family, and with his family, he found the best times ever as a child. He started his childhood as a very spoiled child. Everybody's caring about him. He has his uncles, aunts, his mother, his sister, his father, everybody of the family is around him and spoiling him with all the things that he needs. He has a plenty of food. He has a plenty of people around him, and he is very cared of a child, and he is very spoiled child. When he went for grade 10, or sorry, when he was 10 years old and he wanted to go to school, he was so spoiled that he couldn't sit in a class alone. He wanted to go with his sister, and he had to take care that next time I have to go alone for grade 1 with another class. But at first he couldn't even go alone to the school, and he had to spend the time with his sister. That much he was spoiled by his family. But one day what happened, everything it changed in his life. And we learned that if you can remember when I said in literature and in English and in each story, we have the story, a plot of the story. Story starts at the beginning, everything goes very well for the characters, everybody is happy, and everything is stable. And then there's something happens and the actions grow until we reach the problem or the climax of the story. And then the character here in the climax find a struggle and find a problem that he has to overcome. When he overcome the problem and solve the problem, then the things go down until he reach the end. And this is how we end the story. Now, Chavez, at the beginning, he was very spoiled. He was having very nice, stable, and steady family, and he was having everything that he needs. But one day, what happened is there was a dry season during that area, during that time, and they didn't have crops, and they didn't have farms like before. They didn't have trees or leaves like before, and everything become dry, and the land become drought. Now they don't have enough water to have their land, and those people are farmers. Yani they live on and they live upon what they harvest and what they have. So they didn't have enough money or enough food to put in the table. And eventually his mother started to cry day by day, and she found that she doesn't have any food to feed her children. And she know that this is the time that I have to leave this land and to search for another land where I can work and I can provide some money and some food for my children, because she has responsibility. So she left that place and she went for California. California is at the west of America. In California, she was a stranger because she was migrant at that time. She didn't know anybody, nobody knows her, and she doesn't have money, she doesn't have food, nobody to support her, and she has children who has who she has to support. So what she is going to do, she is going to search for a job. Not only her, but also her 10 years old son, Chavez at that time, or Cesar at that time, he has to search for a job. He has to work in the farms of other people, of stranger people, and he have to work along with the pesticides and along with the leaves and along with the horrible situations of the dry weather and very hot weather in the summer, to work there and to take all the torment just to provide the money and the food that they need for their family. Yani, as I told you, as a migrant, They will not take a lot of money, a lot of salaries. They will take the few money or the few food to let them only survive. So this is was the situation with Caesar. Let's see. Now he is facing a problem. What is the problem that he faced? To be migrant and to have to work for other people to provide food for himself. Let's see if he can overcome this situation or not. Until now, what we know about Caesar that he is a very spoiled child. He couldn't go to do anything alone by himself, but in the same time, he is not stubborn. Yani, when he is in a situation, he try to overcome the situation by being a flexible person. He's not stubborn. So let's see if this will make him any benefit in his life. Would he be flexible to overcome the situation or the problem that he is inside right now, or he will stay for the rest of his life as a worker? Let's see what will happen next. Now I need somebody to read. Who wants to read?
Me, Miss.
Okay, Malak. Let's start with Malak. This page, ya Malak.
Okay, Miss.
Lettuce
I start from the beginning.
lettuce had to be the worst. Had to be the worst. Yeah.
Lettuce. Okay. Had to be the worst.
Thinning lettuce.
Thinning lettuce all day with a short handle who would make hot spasms through his back.
Spams. The S is silent, sweetie. Spams shoot through his back.
Spams shoot through his back. Farm chores on the Travis family talked constantly of saving enough money to buy back their ranch. But by each sundown, the whole family had together. They spoke of the ranch less and less. Only signs were displayed in many stores and restaurants. None of the 35 schools Khizar attended over the years seemed like a safe place. Either one after Khizar broke the rules about speaking English at all times, a teacher hung a sign on him that read, "I am a clown. I speak Spanish." He came to hate school because of the conflicts. Though he liked to learn, even he considered his 8th grade graduation a miracle. After 8th grade, he dropped out of the work in the fields full time. His lack of schooling embarrassed Caesar for the rest Caesar for the rest of his life. But as a teenager, he just wanted to put food on his family's table. As he worked, it disturbed him. It disturbed him that landowners traded their works more like farm tools.
More like farm tools.
Yeah, more like farm tools than human beings. They provided no clean drinking water, rest periods, or access to the bathrooms. Any who complained was fired, beaten up, or sometimes even murdered. So, like other migrants.
Workers.
Caesar was afraid and suspicious whenever outsiders showed up to try to help. How could they know about feeling so powerless? Who could battle such oaths? Yet Cesar had never forgotten his old life in Arizona and the jolt he felt when it was turned upside down. Farm work did not have to be this miserable. Uh, reluctantly, he
Reluctantly.
started.
Just a minute. Reluctantly. Uh-huh.
He started.
Do you know what does it mean?
started
Reluctantly,
paying
sweetie?
attention.
Just a minute. Reluctantly, it means that by hesitation. Yani he is not sure, like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Reluctantly, we call it, this is adverb. Reluctantly, he started paying attention to the outsiders. Yeah, do it.
Reluctantly, he started paying attention to outsiders. He began to think that maybe there was hope. And in his early 20s, he decided to dedicate the rest of his life to fighting for change. Again, he crisscrossed California, this time to talk people into joining his fight. At first, out of every 100 workers he talked to, perhaps one would agree with him. One by one, this was now he started. At the first meeting, Cesar organized a dozen women gathered. He sat quietly in a corner. After 20 minutes, everyone started.
Excellent.
Everyone started wondering.
That's enough. Let's complete with Ghalia. Hi, Ghalia. Next page for you.
From wondering?
Yes, wondering.
Wondering where the organizer would show up. Cesar thought he might die of embarrassment. Well, I'm the organizer, he said, and forced him to keep talking, hoping to inspire respect with his new suit and the mustache. He was trying to grow. The women listened politely, and he was sure they did so out of pity. But despite his shyness, Cesar showed a knack for solving problems. People trusted him with workers. He was endlessly patient and compassionate. With landowners, he was stubborn, demanding a single-minded. He was learning to be a fighter. In a fight for justice, he told everyone truth was a better weapon than violence. Non-violence, he said. Take more guts. It means using imagination to find way to overcome powerlessness. More and more people listened. One night, 150 people poured into an old abandoned theater in Fresno. At this first meeting of a National Farm Workers Association, Cesar unveiled his flag, a bold black eagle, the scared bird of the Aztec
Indians.
La Cosa the cause was born. It was the time to rebel, and the place was Delano. Here in the heart of the lush San
Joaquin
Valley. Brilliant green vineyard reached towards every horizon. Poorly paid workers hunched over grapevines for most of each year. Then in 1965, the vineyard owners cut their pay even further. Caesar chose to fight just one of the 40 landowners, hopeful that other would get the message. As plump grape drooling thousands of workers walked off the company's field in a strike of a Hooligea grape. When rip does not last long.
Okay, let's go for the next page with Wateen. How, Wateen, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, next page for you, sweetie.
Okay.
Company.
Company fought back with everything from punch to ballots. Caesar refused to respond with violence. Violence would only hurt La Casa. Instead,
La Cosa.
La Cosa.
Mhm.
Instead, he organized a march of more than 300 miles. He and his supporters would walk from Delano to the state capital in
Sacramento.
to ask for the government's help. Caesar and 67 others started out one morning. Their first obstacle was the Delano police force, 30 of whose members locked arms to prevent the group from crossing the street. After 3 hours of arguing in public, the chief of police backed down. Joyous marchers headed north under the sizzling sun. Their rallying cry was "Si se puede," or "Yes, it can be done." The first night they reached Decorah. The marchers slept outside.
Marchers. Cha, cha, cha. Marchers. CH, it will give you a cha.
The
Uh-huh.
marchers slept outside the tiny cabin of the only person who would welcome them. Single file, they continued covering an average of 15 miles a day. They inched their way through the San Joaquin Valley.
San Joaquin Valley.
San Joaquin Valley.
Joaquin. Because the J, when it comes at the beginning, we'll pronounce it ha. San Joaquin Valley.
San Joaquin Valley, while the painful blisters right away. He and many others had blood seeping out of their shoes. The word spread. Along the way, farm workers offered food and drink as the marchers passed by. When the sun set, marchers lit candles and kept going.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wateen. Shelters was no longer a problem. Supporters began welcoming them each night with feasts. Every night was a rally. Our pilgrims is the match. One speaker shouted, "That will light our cause for all farm workers to see what is happening here." Another cried, "We seek our basic, God-given rights as a human being. Viva la cosa!" Eager supporters would keep the marchers up half the night talking about change. Every morning, the line of marchers swelled. Caesar Allah always is in the lead. On the ninth day, hundreds marched through Fresno. The long, peaceful march was a shock to people unaware of how California farm workers had to live. Now, students, public officials, religious leaders, and citizens from everywhere offered help. For the grape company, the publicity was becoming unbearable, and on the vines, the grapes continued to rot. Okay, my girls, I will stop right here, right now. And we will talk about the story of this person, Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez, as I told you, he was from Arizona. Now, what I want to tell you about Arizona, let me show you. America and Mexico map. From his name, Cesar Chavez, he is not American, he comes from Mexico. Okay? This is Mexico, right here. This is Mexico. And the people of Mexico, they are talking Spanish, and the people who lives in Mexico, actually, they are people who likes the family so much. They gather so much with each other, and they don't allow other people to enter their lives. Now he was living in Arizona. Arizona is in the south of America, right here. يعني they came from Mexico and they lived in Arizona, in a place right here. His life was very nice. He had everything that he needed. He was a spoiled child. He didn't go to school at that time. Everybody listened to him, and his life was very nice. But eventually, they had a dry season, and he had to leave his place in Arizona to go to what? To the west of United States of America, which is to California. This is California right here. He went from Arizona to California. When he went to California, he is a migrant in California. He doesn't know anybody. Nobody knows him. He doesn't have the money or the food. And he has to work as a child. He has to work in the farms as a child, and he has to bear unbearable situation of the bugs, pesticides, the hard works as a child. He has to cut his nails and his skin just to work for other people. And at the end of the day, there's no salary, there's no money. There's only the food and the shelter, nothing else. He wanted to go to the school. In the school, he wanted to learn the English language, but all the people they are talking English and they don't speak his language. His language was Spanish. And he found that all the people, when he speak English, he tried to learn English, they mock him because they said, oh, what kind of accent do you have? Are you Spanish? You are not English? Ha, ha. They will laugh at him. They will bully him. Because of that, he left.
Mock him?
Yes. He left the school and he said, I don't want to study anymore. خلص. I am a clown. You are considering me as a clown because I'm talking Spanish. Then I don't want school. He left the school and went back to the farm to work in the farm again. But the unbearable situations in the farm, and because he couldn't provide another job, he becomes so angry and furious. Like, okay, I will bear, but for when and until when? I have to do something for my life, or I will keep like this forever. Then this is the obstacle and the problem that he faced. Now he found that all his life is smashing down and nobody is helping him. He is working from dawn to dusk and without even money, and there's no rest time for him. He can't make a family, he can't get married, he doesn't have enough money to do anything. So now he said, I have to make a revolution. I have to tell the people about the situation that we are living in. And all the other people in California and America, they didn't know how the farmers are working aslan. Nobody knows. So he said, I will be the person who tell the people about the real situation in the farms and what's going on. So he started to oppose the company that he's working with, and he tried to make what objection on what's going on, and he started to gather people and to make himself a leader, to tell him about his ideas. He was saying that we are living our lives here, nobody is caring for us because we are migrants, nobody wants to give us money, and the government doesn't care about us. Unless we talk about our own rights, nobody is going to help us. So we have to stand out for ourselves and to speak our minds. And in the same time, we will do it without violence. Because if we start to fight and to kill and to hit people, nobody will help us. But if we do it with peace and with talking and with a peace of mind, then all the people will feel compassionate with us and help us. And the people liked the idea. The other farmers liked the idea, and they said, okay, let's do it together. And they started every day to make what? To go outside to make what? To make like a revolution, small revolution. And they call it at that time La Cosa. Why La Cosa? Because it means the case, their case, La Cosa. But this is in the Spanish language, okay? The case. In the Spanish language, it's the name of it's La. And case, it become Cosa. So he said, this is the name of our revolution. He made his own flag, and he put along with his flag, the Mexican flag, to show that even though they are not American and they come from Mexico, that doesn't make them inferior to other people. And you have to respect us as a human and to give us our right. A lot of people came and came and came until they become hundreds of opponents against the government and against the company. Now, many people, they didn't know what's happened in the farms. When they saw Cesar and his friends and his group, they know that there are unbearable situation for those poor people that they need to stand for. At first, the government and the police, they came to stand in front of those people and to prevent them, sometimes even to kill some of them by bullets and by hitting them. But again, he refused to use any violence and he said, we will continue in peace. When the other people saw that Caesar was a peaceful man and the people with him were peaceful and they were asking only for their rights, all the people started to come with Caesar and to hold and to support that person until to get his own rights. And we will stop at here right now and we'll see inshallah in the next time if Caesar really gets his own rights from the government and from the company, and did the things change for Caesar and his friends, or did it keep the same situation? What do you think until now? Would you think that something would change or no?
It will, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe they will get now half of the pay because, but the problem is, miss, but the roots will not be in the farm and خلاص. I think that the farms will be destroyed, so they will let them go back to the farms, but give them more pay.
Yes, maybe. Yes, maybe this will happen because also they make the plants rot right now because they want to make it as a pressure card on the government. So this is a good thing for them because the government has to know that whoever make the plants grow is the workers because they take care of them. If you don't give them the money, then they will not work and your work will be gone and ruined. So now, inshallah, tomorrow we will take more reading of that part to see what happened in the story and if he will take his own rights and that's why she wrote a story about him or no. This is what we are going to know, inshallah, tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and be okay. I love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.